Hello, hello. Are we live? Welcome back to the Advent of Sintran 2024. Today is day 9. I am back to my regularly scheduled 6 to 7 p.m.-ish Advent of Code streams. I probably won't be staying up until midnight again. Maybe this weekend, probably not. The puzzles are probably going to start getting difficult, and I'm not going to want to stay up late, even if it's the weekend. So, let's download day 9. 9. That's a big number. Not 20,000. It's not 20,000 digits, is it? It's 19,999 digits. So we're probably going to be working with like substrings of this, not the entire number at a time. I hope I don't have to write a whole big num library. All right, so what is this puzzle? I haven't looked at this yet. In later days, I might start looking at these before I start streaming, if they're difficult and I need to think about them. But I hope I don't have to resort to that yet. Callie, come on. You can't be up here. Not allowed. Give me 1 minute. All right. Let's check out this puzzle. Amphipods. Disk map. Okay, fragmentation. So this is the test input. Files and free space. So file 1, 2 free. 1 block file, 2 blocks of free. Okay, yeah, 3 block file, 4 blocks of free space. Okay, so it's 1 digit at a time. Okay, so the IDs do not skip, even if there's free space. The IDs are 0, 1, 2, not 0, 2, 4. Even though they have like bits of free space in between. Block. They're saying block. It's not necessarily bytes or bits or words. It's just block, whatever that is. Doesn't matter. And this is what that looks like. First okay. So these are the IDs. Where did this... What the fuck is 2? 0. What? Okay, we keep flip-flopping between two different examples. That makes this kind of difficult. So that's this one. What the hell is 2? Oh, so you take this block from the end. From the end. Okay. This might be tricky. I feel like you could take a brute force approach, but it's not going to work because you're going to use way too much memory and time. Okay, so after we fill this up, we start putting the blocks in these spaces. Okay. Okay, the checksum is straightforward at least. Yeah. Okay. So like what kind of data structure do I use for this? Do I use an array of numbers? The thing is, all the numbers are going to be 1 digit. So if I use a 4-byte number to represent something from 0 to 9, that's pretty wasteful. Should I use characters? Then I have 1 byte per digit. That's better. Still not optimal. You have a range of 255 values where you're only using 10. But it's better than 4 bytes. 1 byte is better than 4 bytes. But I feel like strings and characters are going to be harder to work with in Syntran than an array of integers. So 20,000. I mean, 20,000 is actually not that big. But we have to deal with blocks. So it's not really 20,000, it's more like 200,000. Because we have 20,000 characters, or just under 20,000, I'll round up. We have 20,000 characters, but these could each occupy up to 10 blocks. It's like you have a 7 that takes up 7 blocks. You have a 9 takes up 9 blocks. So it's more like 200,000. And 200,000 is still not that big. That's 200 kilobytes. So I think I could just use an array of integers. And then there's still a question of, can I process that fast enough, even if I have enough memory to hold it all? Okay. I got the test input, right? Okay, so I should be able to run and echo the test input. Can I at least read? I don't know if I've ever dealt with a 20,000 character file before. Let me make sure I can at least read that. This is the wrong day. Let's go to day 9. This is my template. So let's try just reading the real file. Can I get the length of that? What happened there? I'm in day 9. I print the string after the length. That's not great. It's clear. Well, yeah, then I read one more. Okay, so how about we really don't need a loop. We do not need all this. Okay. It's reading all the bytes. I was concerned that like maybe I won't be able to deal with long lines. I can. That's not an issue. So let's call this N. Oh, this is... Maybe this isn't the N that I care about most. Maybe this is N map. Because I think what I care about more is the number of blocks. And that's going to be less than 10 times the number of characters here. Worst case scenario, it's like 9 times, but it's going to be less than that unless all your digits are 9. So... I can go back to the test input. Okay. Then I think I want to get the number of blocks. Hey Dink, welcome back to the stream. How's it going? Are you doing Advent of Code, or what are you up to these days? So I want to parse a 1-digit integer. That should be easy. Parse I32 because it's only 1 digit. Even though n block is I64, I think I should be able to add an I32. This is the string character I. I can close the file way up here as soon as I read it. Working on a Paxos implementation. I don't think I know what Paxos is. Blockchain. Yeah, distributed consensus. Or is it this blockchain thing? Maybe it's something different. So I think it's named after this island, not... So there might be a lot of things named after that. Yeah, that's something else. Okay, so here we have 42 blocks, which is more than 19, but less than 190, or whatever 9 times 19 is. It's somewhere in the middle. It's not the worst case scenario. So I think I want to, this is not going to be optimal, but I think I want to build something that looks like this. I want to have IDs where there are files, and then I want to have, I don't know, like -1 where I have free space. And this array is going to be of size n block. Or really, I want to build this because this is the actual example, not this even smaller example. Might not be optimal, but I think it's going to be pretty easy to work with the way that they show blocks getting moved here from the right side to the leftmost free space. So I don't want to use 0 for free space because 0 is a valid file ID. So I think I can use -1 for the free space. How do I do that? I have already parsed. I think I have to sum up n block before I allocate anything, so I think I kind of need to do a second pass like this. So let's have blocks. I'll initialize it to -1 because that's going to be my free space sentinel value. Learned a new word there. Size n block. And then ID is the file ID. We're going to parse just like we did before. String I. It's going to be a value from... That's not the ID. It's like a number of blocks. So it's really a size. Length. It's a length. That's what they say. And all of these lengths are from 0 to 0. Do we ever actually... No, we shouldn't... We probably shouldn't have a 0 unless it's free space. I don't know. That's like a file system implementation problem. Does the file system allow file sizes of length 0? Maybe that's valid on the file system. So I think we should be able to handle it just in case. So ID is going to be something else. It's going to start as 0, and then this is really a length. And then we're going to fill in the ID for those blocks up to the length. Okay, so blocks from I block up to I block plus len is going to be the current ID. Then we're going to increment two things. We're going to increment the block by the length, and then increment the ID by 1. And I think that should give us this block layout, like they show in the example. It's not going to be sparse. It's going to be like a dense data structure that probably isn't optimal. Do we go up to 18? First example. Oh, I forgot about the free space. So we need like a parity bit. So we only... This is going to be -1 in a lot of cases. And then we're not going to increment the ID. But we will still increment the block even for free space. So if... Do we start with a file? I think we start with a file. Is that any better? 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, then a 2. Okay, you can kind of see this in the background still. So 2, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4. This looks basically correct. 8, 8, 8, 8, 9, 9. I think that's correct. And now we have to move blocks from the end to the leftmost free space until there are no more gaps. So what is that condition? I don't like the small example. It's kind of annoying that they flip-flop between like a really small example and then a mid-sized example, and then you have your real input, which they don't tell you what the answer for that is. But I would prefer this if there was only one example that they worked through. So I think I want to know one more count. I want to know like the count of non-free space blocks. My cat is going crazy outside the door. I don't know if you can hear her. I just gave her a treat. So n block is 42. And then nmap is 19, but there's another number somewhere in between those, which is like this length plus not the negatives, plus this length, plus the next positive length. So I think I want to sum up that. Your cat keeps jumping on my desk and chewing on my hand. Yeah, maybe it was right before you joined. She kept jumping on my desk, so I kicked her out of my office and closed the door, unfortunately. She wasn't biting me. She will bite me sometimes gently. The problem is like she jumps on my keyboard and starts messing with things that I'm working on, so I can't have that. I think I want like the total length of all the files. So it's not going to be that, but it's going to be related. And then it's going to have this same parity check. You move them outside. Yeah, I feel bad. Sometimes I keep the door open and then like I give her treats to get her to get off my desk, but that backfires. I don't know if I've talked about this with you. I've talked about this before on the stream, but then like it's not working with her psychology, because if she jumps on my desk and I give her a treat to get off the desk, then it's like she's learning that she can get a treat by jumping on my desk. So that's not good either. Yeah, it's rewarding the bad behavior. I need a variable here. And then n block plus len and files plus len. Maybe n block should be like len total or something like that. I don't know. I don't spend too much time thinking about naming things during Advent of Code, so a lot of this is not going to be ideal. Okay, this should be between 19 and 42. Probably like around halfway in between. Okay. And then why do I want that? Because when my rightmost non-free block is at the length of the files, then I know I'm done filling in the gaps. So I calculated that so I can know the end condition. I think. I'm probably going to mess this up with an off by one error. So we're going to have a left index, and this is going to be the leftmost free space. And we're going to have a right index. And this is like the block that we're moving. It's not really the rightmost. Let's call it the rightmost non-free space. Sometimes it's going to index free spaces, but then we're just going to skip over those. Oh, I don't think I need this because I can just compare if left is less than right. I don't want to say space. Let's say block. Okay, so I think my loop can be while IL is less than IR. Should it be less than or equal? I don't think it matters. It might be wrong. And then, so actually, this is going to start out pointing to a file. So I want to advance the left pointer until I actually find free space. So while blocks IL is greater than or equal to 0, this is basically the file ID. And 0 or positive means a file. Anything negative, specifically -1, is going to be free space. And then we need to decrement the right pointer until we get to a free space. So it's going to be like the opposite condition. So IR should point to a non-free block. And then we're going to take this block, set it to free, and then swap it into that block. Essentially, we're going to swap these two blocks. So I don't really need to swap because I know one of them is going to be -1. In fact, why don't I not hard code that? So -1. So then blocks left is going to get the ID from the right block. And then the right one becomes free. I think that's it for the defragmenting. We still have to do the checksum, but I want to see if I have this right. So we should get 998 filled in there, I think. 998, that's what I'm expecting. Let's see if, nope, that crashed. I think I have an off by 1 right off the bat. So -1, because it can't be greater than the length of the array with a 0-based indexing system. That, oh, I didn't print it. So let's print it again. 998. Maybe I should turn my opacity down. 111-888-2777. What does it end with? 555566. Okay. I messed up the very end because I have to move the 6 one more. How did I mess that up? Less than or equal. Maybe that was important. So I have like a pesky little -1 in there. What the fuck? And then it processes these one more time. So maybe I just want to print it down here. Yeah, because like these don't start out as valid values. So I should print them after I do these two while loops. 28, 27. Maybe I do need the little example because I don't want to count what position that is. I am not typing optimally. So what is the super small example? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't even need to copy paste that. Okay, so I have the same problem with this one. 9 and 8. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Do I just have to swap one more at the end? Why? I don't know. Maybe that's just the way it is. I probably could have written this while loop differently in a way that didn't cause this bug, but I think I can fix it by just doing one more. So is it going to be that? Okay, I guess that works. I don't know why it didn't just work to begin with. All right, now did I just delete the 2? 0, 2, 2, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2. 1, 1, 1. Yeah, I just deleted a 2. What the fuck? So after this while loop, IL is going to point to a -1, which means a free block. And then IR will point to something positive. One and 14. 14. Do I really have to print this out at every iteration? Do I have to do this one more time? I should end with 3 2s. That was even worse. Am I swapping too many times? it was perfect right here. And then, yeah, I swapped one too many times. So how do I not do this last step? Maybe I did need to calculate that thing. So while IR is greater than, I still don't know if it's greater than or equal to. No. I think this condition is okay, but I need to put it before I do this stuff. Maybe I can just do it the infinite loop way. I used to not have the break statement in Syntran, and now that I have it, I tend to just like write infinite loops all the time and throw in a break because it feels cleaner. So if IL greater than or equal to IR break, and then we skip that last swap, which was erroneous. Okay, that works. Does it work? I should do the checksum. 0, 2, 2, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2. 2, 2, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2. I think that was correct. What about the mid-sized example? I spent so much time ranting about the small and the mid-sized example, and it turns out I had to work through them both. 5, 5, 5, 5, 4 5s and 2 6s. 1, 2, 3, 4 5s and 2 6s. That seems okay. Now I have to calculate the checksum, which that part sounded straightforward from what I remember, but I kind of forget, so I have to reread this anyway. Each block's position with the ID that it contains, so that seems pretty easy. It's just the product of all of the non-negative ones. I should be able to, do I have a product? I don't think I have a product function. I have a sum function, but I don't think I have a product function. So I can do sum. I can have an array, which is 1 through 10. I don't want to put a 0 in there because then the product would be 0. So I have a sum function built in, but I don't think... Oh, I do have product. I couldn't remember whether it was named prod or product. I didn't think I had that. Apparently I do. Yeah, so I should be able to do the checksum in one line of Syntran. You don't want to do the whole blocks array because it has -1s at the end. Or you could, and then just take the absolute value. That would be a sneaky little trick, but you would waste a lot of time. Not a lot of time, the bottleneck is this loop, but you would waste some time multiplying a bunch of -1s. So I think I want a product of a slice of the blocks array. So I think that should be product of blocks 0 through len files. I think that's the checksum. Well, I don't think it's 0. Oh no, this is like a sum. Yeah, it's not just a product. It's more complicated than that. So this was already initialized to 0, and then still only up to len files. I times blocks I. So I think I can still do this in one line, but let me see if I can get it right with a loop. 1928. 1928. I might regret this if part 2 turns out to be hard, but let's spend a little time on this. So basically, you're doing an array of increasing integers, sequentially increasing integers, multiplied by the blocks array element-wise, and then you're summing that up. So I think I can still do this in one line. It is a sum, but it's not just, it's not a product, it's a sum, but it's not just a sum of the blocks. It's a sequentially increasing integer array, element-wise multiplied with a slice of the blocks array. Is it actually more verbose? I think it might actually be more verbose as one line, but it kind of looks cool. It looks magical. Is that a Coke vanilla? No, it's a raspberry lime spindrift. Is this in view of the camera? Might be too much glare there, but it's seltzer water with like a little bit of strawberry and lime juice. It's 5 calories. Like there's barely any juice in there, but it's more flavored than like a typical seltzer water, which has 0 calories. Do I have my parentheses matched? Okay, let's see if that works. 1928. Okay, yeah, you can do that in one line. Let's see if I can do that on the real input. It's printing a lot of stuff. You can kind of see the left index ticking up and the right index ticking down. It's pretty slow. Let's not print all of that. Let's at least not print the blocks. Not at every iteration. Maybe once at the end. Oh, that didn't take too long. So part 2 is going to be something crazy. Where's my mouse? And I fear that expanding the memory into all of the blocks isn't really going to work for part 2. But anyway, that's part 1. Gave away my unhealthiness. Oh, you drink vanilla Cokes? I do like vanilla Coke. I wouldn't want to drink Coke late at night though, where even just that small amount of caffeine might keep me up if I drink one at 7 p.m. Okay, moving whole files. I don't think my program is going to run any slower. If they said like, well, actually every file size is 10 times the file size that we told you in part 1, then it's like, well, I might need to optimize something, but it's not any twist like that. Coffee. What time zone are you in? Or what time is it for you? I drink coffee in the morning, but yeah, not this late. Attempt to move. Attempt to move each file exactly once in order of decreasing file ID number. So we still work from right to left. 7 okay, you're the same time zone as me. Yeah. There's no way I could drink coffee this late. If there is no span of free space. Oh, yeah, this might be slow. Leftmost that could fit the whole file. So it's not like we can just try to move it here, and if it doesn't fit, give up. If it doesn't fit in this space, then we have to try to fit it in this space and then try to fit it in that space. So that's definitely not going to work. So maybe I do need to optimize something. And it might not be that hard. Just sleep regardless of how much caffeine I consume. I'm jealous. Oh, well, then does caffeine just have like no effect on you? Do you wake up and feel tired and drink caffeine and still feel just as tired? So I think to get the checksum at the end, so I have like two different arrays. I have an array of the lengths, and I have which is just the digits that they give you. And then I have an array of the blocks, which looks like this. And for part two, or for part one, you only really needed to work with the blocks. But for part two, I think you need to work with the blocks and work with the lengths and kind of like manipulate both of them concurrently. Can't really tell if it changes anything. That's too bad. Maybe you just like the taste, and then that's okay. Yeah, because when you're looking for a free space that can accommodate this file, you don't want to like iterate over every block. You just want to check the lengths, because then that's less things to iterate over. But then when you fill one in, you have to update one or two lengths. Do you? Yeah, I feel like this is going to get confusing, because like I have a left index and a right index, and that those indices applied to the blocks array, but now I'm also going to need left and right indices for the lengths array. I might be able to do this. It doesn't sound impossible. I think I understand the problem. I feel like there are other days where I don't even understand the problem for part two, and then I'm just totally screwed. Okay, I haven't really looked at this example step by step, so let me do that. So 9, 9 fits there. 8888 doesn't fit anywhere. So that one actually stays where it is. And then after we move stuff, we actually end up with a 4-block free space there that you could move the 8888 into. But they say basically you only try it once. Attempt to move each file exactly once. So we end up not moving this in the end. But then the 777, the 777, this moves here. And then 6s also don't move. 5s don't move, but then the 4s. I wonder if there's another optimization that you can make, or you could say, I don't know if this will work, but you could say I couldn't move this 4-block file. So then when I get to this 4-block file or a 5 or 6-block file, you might not be able to move that one either. Is that always going to be true? Yeah, because you're never going to free up space to the left by moving a file to the right of a 6. So I think, I think that's an optimization that we can make. If we couldn't move the 8s, then we're definitely not going to be able to move anything larger than that. But it might just not happen that frequently with the real input until you get pretty close to the end, because you're going to have a lot more free spaces off to the left, not like this example. I don't know. How long did part 1 take to run here? Like, do I need to do anything? It took less than a second. Maybe I can still work with the blocks array, because this doesn't seem too slow. But no, I think like part 1 is order n, and part 2 is going to be order n squared. Because it's not like you just try one thing to move these. It's that you have to check if it fills this gap, then check if it fills that gap. So you have to iterate a bunch of things just for one of them. Yeah, I don't know. Let's try it and see how slow it is. Okay, so we have part 1. Let's copy this and change it into part 2. I still don't really want to print all that stuff. At least not for part 1. Bad cop's gonna yell at me if I leave this dead code in here. So it's working on that, but then I fixed it by adding this break statement. So I should delete this dead code too. I should have done this before I copied part 1, but it's too late now. Okay. Not ready to comment out everything just yet. Did I ever use this? Okay, I used that to allocate. Or no, I just used it for the loop bounds. Let me go back to the test input. Okay, that's manageable to look at. So that's part 1. And then it just runs part 1 again as part 2. Now we have to actually implement part 2. So we have this. I feel like we just need 2 more scans here. It's going to be a lot of scanning work to calculate the lengths. Maybe it's actually easier if I also work with the lengths array in parallel to the blocks array. Otherwise, I have to figure out how big this gap is. So I have the left pointer, the IL, the index of the leftmost free space. And then to figure out the length of this free block, I have to scan from here to the right. And it's okay to do that once, but then when I look at the next gap, I have to scan again, and then scan again. It's kind of annoying. I don't know what's harder. I might just do it. I might just do it with all the extra scanning. So we always want to keep track of this. Here's the thing, the number of possible file sizes is very constrained. You can only have 10 different file sizes. And then what are the possible free space sizes? Is that also 10? Initially it's 10, but then after you start defragging, you get bigger free spaces to the right, but you're never going to get smaller free spaces to the left. So you could actually keep track of the 10 leftmost free spaces of unique chunks. Does that help? I don't know if that helps you optimize anything or not. So I feel like I want to keep this the same way within this loop, but then I want to have like a local version of IL as I look for other free blocks. Okay, so before I do anything with the left pointer, I think I want to find the size or the length of the file under the right pointer. So IR is actually the rightmost, and then we're going to have IRL, which is just to the left of IR. It's going to start out -1. Yeah, -1. I don't know. Can you have a file of size 0? Again, it's a question about the file system. Maybe that's allowed. So while and then this is going to go 1 past, but maybe that's good. Yeah, so then the length of the file is going to be IR minus IRL. Now, theoretically, you could just pull that out of. Do I save this anywhere? See, the thing is, I don't think I save this anywhere. You could parse it back out of the string, but theoretically, you could just pull that out of some array and make a time-space trade-off instead of like scanning for the length of the file. But I'm going to attempt to do this with a lot of extra scanning. No, this is not right. Because what if you have 2 consecutive files at the end? Yes, so like if I'm scanning to the left, I could just check the ID. That's guaranteed to work. So until I hit a different ID. Well, that wasn't even right anyway. So we have to scan by the ID. Okay, I think that should work. Yeah, so that gets me the length of the file. Maybe I want to be specific. That's the length of the file. And then I'm also going to want to get the length of the free space. And if I find a free space that's greater than or equal to the file size, then I can move the whole file. I think I just want an other infinite loop. So this is like a local copy of IL, because every time I go back to the top of this loop, I want to have the same IL. We're probably going to get stuck with like a free space. No, because even if you have a free space of 1 that you can almost never fill, you should somewhat soon run into a file of length 1 that you can fill into that position, and then this will like update. So I was worried that this is going to like kill performance and you're going to get stuck with a free space that you can never fill, but I think this will advance eventually. But I want to make a local copy as I scan for possibly larger free spaces that I might need to accommodate the file. So that's a copy, and that's going to advance inside of this loop. So we have ILL, ILR, and IRL. And the only one we don't have is IRR, but that's basically just IR. So terrible variable names. Sorry about that. This is just to the right of IL. That's what this means. Initially, it's going to be that. And then while this is free, how about that? That's more readable, isn't it? Okay, so while that's free, I'm really worried that I just broke part 1, but we'll test it in a second and find out. Okay, now we can get the length of this free space, and that's going to be ILR minus ILL. And then if that's big enough compared to the file size, I don't really need parentheses here. Then we can move the file and break out of this loop at the end. But before we break, we want to move the file. Otherwise, I have to get to this in a minute. Increment ILL and try this loop again. So to move the file, that's going to be, we don't fill the whole free space because this free space might be bigger than the file. But we can fill like a whole slice of the free space. So blocks, ILL. My slices are based on start position and end position, not start position and length. If I had to weight a slice from length, it might make this more convenient, but I think in most cases, slicing based on position works better. So ILL plus len file is going to be just whichever file we had at the end. I think it's just blocks IR. It's going to be kind of like this, but now we're moving a whole file. So we're filling in a slice at the left pointer, not just a single position at the left pointer. And then we have to free what was over here. So this is going to look weird because I actually went past the file by 1 at IRL. So there's going to be a lot of off by 1 math here. But then we're going to mark the free spaces at IRL plus 1. So remember, the lower bound is inclusive, but the upper bound is exclusive. So I actually want to go to IR plus 1. That becomes free. Okay, I think that's moving the file. Move the whole file to the left. And then if this free space wasn't big enough, then we're going to find another free space. Missing a, oh, yeah, good call. Well, at least I remembered the plus sign. Otherwise, I would have forgotten that. Because, like, the thing is, that looks correct. It's like, well, you're going from the left index of the file up to the right index of the file. But because the upper bound is exclusive, it has to be like that. So yeah, at least I would have gotten like a syntax error when I ran it. But if I forgot the plus sign too, that really would have been nasty. So good catch. Then we're going to increment ILL and try again. So we know that ILR is not free after this loop. And then we need to find the next free space after that filled space. Maybe I can say not equals free. Maybe that would be more readable. Okay, I think that should do it. And then we don't touch ILL. But then we do scan ILR here. So then I think this loop should iterate correctly. There's probably some kind of problem here. But let's see if that works. Then hopefully that condition is still okay. Do I ever increment? Okay, yeah, I do increment IL. Okay. All right, let's see what that does. This is going to be a pain to debug if it doesn't work, and it's going to be a pain to optimize if it works, but it's too slow. So that did something. That does not look right. Did I get a positive number? So I got some zeros. How did I get more zeros than I started with? That looks all kinds of wrong. And then I got a whole bunch of negative ones. So I think I have multiple issues here. So that should be the start of part 2, right? Okay. Get a file of length 2. Then how did I get a file of length 3? Did I forget to delete things that were left over from part 1? Yeah, I don't think I want that there. Still wrong. Still just as wrong. Am I editing part 2? I think so. There's way too much scanning here. The fact that I have to write a while loop every time. And the variable names don't help. Part 1, okay, part 1 is still correct because I changed stuff there. I think I did this. That used to be different in part 1. Okay, so what's going on with these? IL is 2, that's okay. 41, that's the end of the array, that makes sense. And then IR goes all the way down to 1, so that's problematic. Okay, so I think I set too much to be free. So this is probably wrong. So I think I set like a huge block to free, and then this looped all the way down to the left. So we should be able to move the 9s. So we got len file is 2. That's correct because we have 2 9s. How about the len free? We should find a len free immediately because we have free length of 3. Yeah, so we should be able to move that. And then what did I free? I don't think I did this. Did I move the file correctly? So I should move these 2 9s over here. Why is that an infinite loop all of a sudden? No infinite loop. Infinite loop, but it's on printing len free. Something weird is going on here. Let's add some braces. If. Let's add some parentheses. That shouldn't change anything. Yeah, it's still wrong. Still wrong in the same way. Does this work? That should work. I'm taking a vector on the left side and filling it with a scalar from the right-hand side. That should work. Like if I did that before. So V is a vector. You can add stuff to it. I should be able to assign that all to the same scalar. And then I get a whole array that's just the one scalar. So I should be able to assign things like that. That should be okay. I think break doesn't work. This is the infinite loop, right? Okay. I feel like I found a bug in Syntran. So that does an infinite loop, and I don't think it should. Because if I take out this print statement, there's no infinite loop. So that's got to be a bug. Okay, so now I have a copy of this buggy program that I can debug later. I'm not going to fix that now. I'm going to try to work around this infinite bug. I feel like break just doesn't work. Something about having nested loops and multiple breaks that do different things. I think I can't handle that. Yeah, that's not good. Okay, so let's change this from an infinite loop to a loop with a condition, not break inner. Break inner starts out as false. And then that will set it to true. And I think we can still execute this. Yeah, that shouldn't really change anything important. And then that should break out of the loop at the correct time. What is wrong with that? Let. Okay, it's still wrong, but it's not an infinite loop. Can I do this? And then I might have to do the same thing for the outer loop. Oh, yeah, you saw the let problem before I did. That, yeah, that is still an infinite loop. But then maybe I need to break the outer loop in the same way. Hopefully that's not an infinite loop. Maybe I have a logical problem here. Maybe it no, because it's like a print statement. So that changed things. I don't have all negative ones, but I still didn't move the nines correctly. Those should move over here on the first iteration. I don't think it's executing my inner loop at all because I'm supposed to print these things. Len, that's not right. Do I have any other breaks? Not in part 2. Okay. Yeah, something funny is still happening here. Oh, that's len files, not len file. So this just never printed. Oh, that should be false. Okay, now that's an infinite loop again. This, okay, that might be the source of the logical problem. Right. Okay. Yeah. This is so hacky. At least it's a different infinite loop. Huh. I might need to change this condition. Because we might have free spaces. So with part 1, you can always fill in the free spaces. With part 2, you can't necessarily fill in the free spaces. So I think I should have an infinite loop right now. Yeah, because like here, you end up with a free space here. And several other free spaces to the left of some of your files. So what is the condition? What am I doing on the first few iterations? Like, I still don't know if I've moved this file. and then freed up the space where the file was. I still don't know if that's correct. So let's have a counter. And I think the condition could just be on the counter once you attempt all of the files. Yeah, now that I took out the break. But I didn't really remove the break. I just kind of like changed the break into a condition, but it never hits this condition. So it doesn't matter if this was an actual break or like a break that's emulated with a Boolean that's in the loop condition. So I think something should happen. Yeah. If we've tried to move this file once, we should actually change IR. And I don't know where the right place to do that is. So this is not the way to do it. But I just want to see if I can get like the first couple iterations correct. Okay, so I moved the 9s, and then I did not fill in free space where the 9s used to be. So half of that was right. Kind of struggling with today. I've been at this for a while. So I moved the file, but then I did not fill in free spaces correctly. Well, that's weird. Okay, I print this once at the end. No. So that's an interesting mix of numbers. If I comment out this print statement, I get a totally different answer at the end. So I have one of those cursed bugs where like you print stuff and it changes your answer. That's not good. I'm probably going out of bounds somewhere. Len free, len file. I don't even know anymore. I did such a terrible job at naming these variables. I think I want to break sooner. After 1. Greater than or equal to 1. Okay, that does one step and then it breaks. So move to the 9s, and then it should set these to freeze. So what are the indices that it's trying to set here? Yeah, it's spooky. There's something seriously wrong. And because I wrote this language, I don't really know whether the problem is in this code or in the interpreter code. It could be either place. Okay, so which blocks is it trying to free? So what did I compute this from? IR minus IRL. So we got IRL plus 1 to IR plus 1. I feel like that should work if I calculated the length correctly. (39 to 41), and the array length is 42. Yeah, and then if I add 1 to both of these, then I get 40 to 42. So why does that not fill in zeros? Free is -1. All right, I've got to block somebody. Not you, Dink. All right, banned. Whiles are fairly battle tested. They are slices and ranges. I think those are pretty battle tested too. Like everything that I add is pretty well covered by unit tests. So like, well, I mean, there's at least one unit test that covers pretty much every feature. But then it's like, are there weird edge cases where I have like 3 nested while loops with breaks? Breaks are not battle tested. Those are pretty recent. It could be some, like I'm searching for 64 right now because I feel like I have some problem with 64 bits versus 32 bits. Like I fixed a bug. Oh, this might be the bug that I fixed yesterday. I fixed something yesterday that I'm not running yet. Like I committed it, but it's not in the version of Centran that I'm running on this computer. I did it on this computer, but then like I didn't install the binary, so it's weird. Actually, yeah, I put a comment here. Anyway, it might not even be the bug. Len files. Why is that 64 bits? None of this stuff really needs to be 64 bits. The sum, what was my answer for part 1? Like that was a big number, so I think the sum needs to be 64 bits. Yeah, definitely. It might actually be that bug from yesterday. At least you're not alone. Yeah, I'm getting wrecked right now. So what if I make that 32 bits? That's it. It's the bug that I fixed yesterday. I gave up on looking for this a second ago, but since it's that bug, let's do a deep dive into it. I found this on AOC. I found this a week ago on AOC day 2. And then I was like, wait, if I cast this number down to 32 bits, it suddenly works. So like, I'll make a to-do note for myself. I'll fix this later. And then this weekend, I finally had some time on Sunday, and it was one line. This assumes that like the left bound of a slice. So where do we have a slice? We have a slice right where the bug was, where we assigned something to free. We have a slice here. It's from the left bound of the slice to the right bound of a slice, and there's a colon in between. So this bug kind of always assumed that that left slice bound was always a 32-bit integer. But what I have to do is I have to check if it's 32-bit or 64-bit, and then cast that into whatever result I need. And internally, I always cast it to 64 at the end. So it was a one-line change to fix that, and now I just bit myself with it again. So I think that's setting the free blocks now, because I have -1s at the end. Okay, so that's one iteration of that loop. Let's see what happens if I keep going. Can we get the second step? So the 8s, it shouldn't be possible to move the 8s. Okay. Let's just go a bunch of times. 0, 9, 9, -1. What can I move? What else moves? Well, that's not helpful to look at. Okay, what's the expected result here? 7s should move. 7s did not move. So that should be like the third step. And I want to know which file ID I'm working on. So that should be blocks IR. And I want to be able to see that because I'm logging a lot of things. Eight. I want to try one more step then. Eight. Oh yeah, it gets stuck on 8 and then it never tries to move anything other than 8. Yeah, so that's the next problem. If I can't move a file, I need to decrement IR. I think I fixed it, but now I have another bug here. But I'm getting the first step right. I can move the first file with... Oh yeah, did I fix the thing in the interpreter? I did. I'm just not running that version right now. So when do I have to skip over the current file? So if I break out, if I'm able to move the file, I break out of the inner loop. So if I get out of this loop, no, I think if I get here and I haven't moved the file, this is where I need to decrement IR. So we couldn't move the file. And then we're going to decrement IR to try the next file to the left. So that's yet another while loop. While blocks IR. I think I should have just written not equal free everywhere. That feels more readable now. Now that I've been working on this for over an hour and a half. Is it just IR? Yeah, I think that's what I want to try. Okay. So this, when I print the ID, that's the file that it's trying to move. So it was getting stuck on 8. Yeah, it did 9, and then it got stuck on 8. It tried it once, twice, 3 times. So hopefully this gets it past file 8. Okay. And then it actually moved the 7s. And that might be it for the sample input. Is that... No, I'm not doing the checksum correctly now, but I can do that hack that I mentioned. This is still wrong. I need to do something about that. I think... Let me see if I'm getting the checksum correctly. So that worked for part 1. Is it just len? What's the size of blocks? N block. Well, that makes sense. N block. No, I actually need a loop for this. If it was just a product of this, I could do the product and then take the absolute value to ignore the negative ones. But I think I need a for loop for this. In Fortran, you can use something. Is it a where statement, or do you use a mask? There would be a way to do this in Fortran in one line, but in Syntran, I definitely need a loop. I think I had it up here commented out. Yeah, so I'm glad I kept that there, because now I'm going to use that. In blocks, if blocks I not free, then we do it the same way. So I think that's the checksum. And then I still have to fix this exit condition, this break condition. 2928, was that the expected answer? No. Did I move the 4s? 4s should be movable. Oh, yeah, well, I think I didn't do enough steps now. Yeah, because I only went down to 6. Let's just hack this, do a bunch more steps. I think that's actually the exit condition, though, when k is greater than like the number of blocks. That's still wrong. What happened to the 4s? 3. I might have moved it and then moved it back again. Yeah. Should be some magic number here. So we went from ID 3 back up to 4. That shouldn't happen, because we already tried to move 4. I'm getting tired here. Two 2858 2872. And block is 42. Because it kind of looked like I had the blocks correctly, but my checksum is not right. Let me just copy this so I can look at it. Zero, 0, 9, 9, 2. I didn't move 2 because I never tried to move 2. Okay, so what happened here is we tried to move 3s. Then we tried to move 4s again. Like, is that going to be a performance issue, or can I just try it and let it fail? I should be able to move the 2. Like, didn't I try that? So what are we trying to move? We tried to move 3, then we tried to move 4 again. Can I just try one more? We might be getting stuck on 4. Is there another? Oh, we must have hit this. Why does that happen? Well, we want to try to move every file. That's not good. That's not right, because I already did this in another place, and I was like, well, I can't use that as a condition. I have to compare it to the current file. Yeah, negative 136. Where did that come from? I have no idea. Okay, so that should always go to the next file. I think, was that right? 2858? Okay, we're at least getting the right answer, but this is very hacked because this condition is not correct. I think... Well, we might try some files twice. What if blocks IR if we get to the 0th file. Then that's the last file that we can move. Okay, well, you're never going to be able to move 0. This might crash now. Oh, no, it's just the wrong answer. Really? I had it. 2858. 099. I didn't move the 2. Okay, what happened? Did I get the right answer for the wrong reasons? I moved the 2 there. Did this move other stuff later? This is getting hard to debug. Okay, so I can see K there. We got down to 11. Does this condition not work? Went up to 13. Then we moved the 2 back somehow. So yeah, so we had the 2 there. And then we undid it. I mean, this didn't work, right? Okay, now it works. It was the... Somehow it was the combination of this and this condition, which is now commented out. Now I guess at least I'm getting the right answer. Like, this worked, but I was basically hard coding the number of steps to make just the right number of file move attempts. Now we get to find out if this is too slow or not, or maybe it'll just crash on the real input. That's always a possibility. It's gonna log way too much. That's a lot of logging. Let's get rid of some of the logging. Okay, let's try that. It might just be too slow. Okay, it's like 8:19. I'm going to refill my water. I'm going to let that run. And I'll be back in a minute. Wow, we've got an answer. I thought that was going to run for like an hour or something, and I was going to have to give up. It could be wrong. There's a very good chance that this is wrong. 127. Yeah. I don't know. I think I might have to call it. Oh, as soon as I stood up. Yeah. Well, I see the time there. 20 seconds. Okay, that's not that bad. The last few days I've had some that took like 5 minutes. But at least I understood those problems. I'm kind of having trouble with this one. So the problem is, one of my problems is that I try to move files multiple times. I think I should have a guard against that. I just want to watch it run. Oh, I copied the wrong thing. That's what I meant to copy, but I copied this, which is the sum of part 1 plus 2. I'm printing that out due to reasons. So I still have a chance here. 639. Okay, that's also wrong. Did I paste the right thing? 639. RIP. Yeah. I've been streaming for like 2 hours. I think I might just have to give up on this one. Spaces. Yeah, I didn't copy a space. Let's at least print the final thing. Feel free to go. Yeah, I don't know. I might spend another 30 minutes on this. It's probably a bad idea. You can feel free to go, because this is probably going to get painful to watch. It's just a bunch of negative ones. There's probably something up there. We're on day 9. Yeah, I don't know how to debug this. I can look at the test input again. It's possible that I'm getting the right number by coincidence. Like I'm getting files in the wrong places, but I still get the right checksum. I don't know if the other example is worth trying at all. 099211177 free space 44 a free space 333 4 free spaces 1 2 3 4 4 fives a free space 4 sixes 1 2 5 free spaces 1 2 3 4 5 4 eights and then 2 free spaces. That's correct. But then why? I think I have bugs in here. So that's part 1. Here's part 2. So okay, I have this condition. It's like, because why is it that when I do extra steps, why does that move things back? So this gets me the right answer for the test input at least. 2858. 2858. Let me look at the checksum. Like, what if the bug was in the checksum calculation? This is like the easiest part. So what if I messed that up and I spent all my time debugging this? I want to at least look at this for a second. That seems okay. I want to back this up because it gives me the right answer for the test input. So that's something. And now I'm going to mess with this. 2858. Yeah. Maybe I should reread the rules again to make sure I didn't miss anything. So this shouldn't be possible, right? But like, let's say we take the 9s and like we move the 9s over here somehow. And we try to move the 8s. And then what happens if we try to move the 9s again? We should never be able to move them even further left because we already tried that on the first attempt. But according to the rules, like, I shouldn't even be trying. Is that a potential issue? So that happens here because I decrement and try the next file to the left. And that's not exactly right. Or if we succeed. If I succeed, then this also just goes to the next file to the left. And that's not necessarily right. Take your time. Not really expecting that to do anything different. Let's let that run for 20 seconds. Might actually be faster now. No, remember it started with 639 before. Did any of these other digits change? I have no idea. I'm going to start to hit some timeout issues soon. Okay. Say they're only going to make me wait 1 minute. I know this does get aggressive eventually if you try too many wrong answers. Let me take note of what I submitted, since I forgot the first 1 or 2 things that I submitted. Hey, welcome back. I don't even remember what I submitted for my first answer or two. I remember I accidentally submitted that, and that was dumb. I can't remember what the last one of these is that I did, but I tried this one, and that was also wrong just now. I tried adding another loop here because instead of like repeatedly trying files that we've tried before, what if we wait until we get a file ID that's smaller than the current file ID that we're trying? And that I think that requires like another nested loop here to scan past any free spaces. Oh, Control Z. I also like went back on the page. I might have refreshed. I can't remember. And anyway, since I added that check, I think maybe I can get rid of this condition. So that's what I'm running now. And that crashed. So I think we have an underflow problem somewhere here. And then one of these might also underflow. That looks the same. Yeah, that's the same as what I just submitted. And then I should never move a file to the right. I feel like that condition should cover it. But then I possibly increment things, so maybe I should have a check here. And ILL less than IR. Maybe we can be more aggressive. Plus len free. I think that's very aggressive. Let me run the test input. 2858. 2858. Maybe I should write that down. Okay, let's burn another 20 seconds. Ends in 754. That's different. Yeah, I might have been accidentally moving files to the right sometimes. Oh, thank God. Once I hit like 2 hours on a stream, I'm at a point where like, I'm okay if I don't get this one today. So I was prepared to throw in the towel there. Oh. Part 1 was okay. Part 2, you get into this rhythm, or you get into this vicious cycle where you're like, Well, I could just like add one line from part 1 to change it a little bit for part 2. And then you run that and you're like, well, that's not right, so I need to add this other line. And then you do that like 20 times, and before you know it, you have this mess where you're using booleans to like control if you're breaking out of loops. And by the way, that bug that I fixed in the interpreter, and like various other logic bugs that I had in this code, it might have made all of this unnecessary. Maybe I could just use regular break statements. I'm not going to touch it now. Maybe if I have free space and I really want to punish myself, maybe I'll go back and try to do this with regular break statements. Yeah, but like before you know, you start adding one little thing and you just have a mess of nested loops. And like, oh, well, I have to add this other condition and like increment this thing. And I can have one bad variable name. It's not going to hurt. And then you add another bad variable name and things are just totally unreadable. So this is some of the worst code I've ever written. But you know what? Gets me the right answer. So let me get rid of that last print statement. Are there any other print statements? Part 1, part 2, and then main prints, those are okay. Let me just run this one more time. It only takes 16 seconds, that's not terrible. Let me make sure I get the right answer, end in 842. And, you know, once you get the right answer, that's always available on Advent of Code. So ends in 842, 639, 842, 639, 842. And what was part 1? 636, 136. Okay. Yeah, so those are still the right answers. All right. No, I might just never touch this code again because I hate it. It's awful. It's terrible to look at. It's terrible to work with. But if I do try to touch it, at least I can try to refactor it without changing the final answers. So I'm going to note these down. But I'm going to commit what I have here. Yeah, I mean, it's about time that these puzzles start getting difficult. I feel like this one shouldn't have been that hard. It's just, I made some mistakes tonight. I'm not proud of it. So I made it harder than it needed to be. I don't really want to add all those files. I think git rm unstages it without deleting the file. What did that do? Oh, cached. Okay, it's untracked. That's good. I could just delete it. But like, I really don't want to accidentally delete source code before I commit it. This one, okay, that was when I thought I might have an interpreter bug. I'm going to keep that just for a second. Yeah, I think everything else, all of these other files can stay. All right, yeah, I think I'm going to commit here and then wrap up the stream. I guess I'll find somebody to raid. I might like raid and leave immediately because I'm kind of tired. I'm not proud of part 2. I'm not going to beat myself up over this, but like if anybody looks at this code, this is not code to model anything after. So that's the only reason I'm commenting this. I'm not actually going to beat myself up. Got the right answer. That's all that really matters. AOC is supposed to be fun. Okay, let me see if that pushed. That pushed. Do I have code in here? Oh, yeah, like I put a comment in day 8. That's all. But then day 9, here's the day 9 code. All right. Yeah, let's see who else is twitching. Is there anybody doing AOC? Probably not. Juice mit Apfeln. AOC. Elixir. Let's give this person a raid. I'm not going to remember how to spell that. Raid. I think that's right. All right. Thanks to everybody who tuned in. I really appreciate it. Have a good one, Dink. I have to go in the chat. Did I start? Where did that raid go? Did I actually do the raid? Oh, he just ended. I guess. That sounds like an AOC title. Okay, I guess I need to find somebody else to raid. I'll raid JD again. I guess nobody else is doing AOC. JD, what is the casing here? It's right there in my tab title. Does dev. Hey, MML. You caught me at the end here. Where's my chat going? Am I not logged in here? Maybe I just need to raid from another computer. Like I hit enter and my chat just disappeared. JD does dev. There we go. I think I'm not logged in on this browser, on this computer. So, yeah, thanks everybody. I'll catch you next time. Bye. All right, I guess I have to let it count down all the way. I'm logged in here. Sorry guys. Technical difficulties. There we go.
Can I change? Whoa. Jeff Irwin, thank you for the raid. RCB, yes. Jeff Irwin, how was your stream? What are you up to? How did things go? Tell me everything, all the things. Of course, of course. You raid, you get a shout out. As long as you aren't just raiding one person over and over again. If that were the case, why would you do that to me? Right on, right on. Okay, let's see. This might fix it. This might fix it. There we go. Now we're getting closer. We're getting a lot closer.